Good day and welcome to the Marek Report. Hello everybody, and this is Marek again, and I haven't done a video in a long time, but here we go with a new one, and I have a very saturated lighting and I have some notes, so it should be a good one. And we're going to talk about obviously Trump again, because I tried to avoid politics for the last couple of months, but I've collected some thoughts and I would like to share them. And this is my first real video post the November 2024 election. And I first made a video that was like 40 minutes long, but I decided to cut out a bunch of stuff and try to just give you the hottest takes you could really imagine. So here we go. Starting off very pessimistically, the vibes in the country have been kind of bad, and there's reasons for that. And it's not necessarily a bad thing that the vibes are bad, if that makes any sense to you at all. So why are people a bit salty? Well, it makes sense because the country's very polarized. So still there's almost half people that identify themselves as Democrats. A lot of those people really hated Trump, and they took a bruising late last year, and now they have to adjust to this new order where Trump has been very legitimized, both through his electoral success and just his survival as a political force since he ran for president in 2016. So a lot of those liberals feel bad, and they have to maybe disattach themselves from some of their more extreme views, disattach themselves from the idea that Trump was a blip on the radar and they are the true Brahmin class. It's not like that. In fact, the liberals are probably more of reactionaries. They're more in the back seat for sure, and they're on the back foot. They are seeing their institutions change, and the institutions are also, they're pulling out of the woke stuff. We saw that with corporations that aligned themselves behind Trump and that are now pulling back the DEI. And we're also seeing it in the academic world, especially after the Israel-Hamas struggle. Now the universities are telling young people, hey, put a lid on that young guy. We like Israel, or whatever the universities are doing. So the left, and I really mean the Democrat Party, are crumbling in that respect, and that makes people feel salty. It makes them feel like their feelings have been hurt. It's less, if we're looking at the stages of grief, there is anger in some pockets of the internet, but that resistance vibe has died down. We don't see Antifa or BLM. Not going to get into where they went, I don't know. But they're more in the stages of like bartering. Some people are maybe trying to flip onto the Trump side. You saw a couple of people like that, like the guy from the Young Turks or Eric Adams or Fetterman. They're now much more conciliatory with the Trump administration. So some people are going that route, and they're just accepting this new reality. And some people are getting more radicalized, and you've seen, you could see some more like anti-corporate violence, like with that healthcare CEO shooting. But that's people on the fringes. A lot of people are just accepting the new facts. I've seen a lot of, I've been watching this culture war has been going on for 10 years. We're seeing this pivot, and I'm seeing a lot of left-wing commentators. I've been watching left-wing podcasts, and they're starting to speak a lot more down to earth about Trump, a lot more respectful of his followers, and much more respectful of the power dynamic in this country. They realize that it's incumbent on them to get voters or to get followers or to try to regain influence. They are now a bit more the underdog, and they've acquiesced and they acknowledge that, which could be constructive. Well, what's the silver lining? I think the silver lining is that people are less, a lot of the people are more open to compromise, and they're speaking more realistically, which after hyperpolarization can be a great thing for this country. I think we can now start to see new coalitions, different political coalitions develop. You saw that with like the union people that support Trump, the working class Trump people. So maybe they're organized on the grassroots by more left-wing progressive types, and they can maybe work with the technocrat Elon Musk types. That can be exciting. And again, it's a more realistic view of the world. And that's the political situation as it stands, but it's not comfortable, and you're still seeing people, write nasty things online. For whatever reason, there's been a lot of like plane crashes and all this sort of stuff, and the weather has been bad, and you've seen weird weather, like LA burned down. I don't know if the weather is related to politics, but I'm talking overall vibe. Obviously, a lot of people are still probably doing well. Some people are very happy, but just kind of talking here anecdotally. And another reason people have reason to be salty is, yes, liberals have to take that loss. But for all of us, this is a big change, and change can be painful. Trump is moving very, very fast, and he's changing the global order, and he's making big changes domestically. So don't discount that, because that means households and corporations have to adjust. I've heard that there's uncertainty. I've heard that, I don't know if I could verify this exactly, but I heard that deal making, like in mergers and acquisitions markets, hit a lull in January because managers don't really know what to quite expect. People don't know what the instrumental purpose of the tariffs is. Are the tariffs always going to be there? Or is he just using them as a short-term leverage thing? Hopefully it's the latter, and you're seeing a little bit of that optimistically, that Trump is hitting countries with tariffs, and you're seeing the countries acquiesce to America's giant economic power. So that's one thing, but the tariff thing and the geopolitical thing easily could be an hour video if I was so knowledgeable. I'm going to hit you with the main points on that, which is, okay, here's what I'm hearing. I think Trump is going to try to ease things with China and Russia militarily. He's talking about compromising on the Ukraine as the voice of the West, as the main supporter militarily of Ukraine. He's saying, Russia, you can have Ukraine, but we need to de-escalate. He's talking about less spending. If Russia and China and America could all spend less militarily, I think that would be actually a big win for the world. And it would create this sort of new order that's, again, more realistic, more realpolitik. It's not about the morality of the governments in Russia and China. It's about easing military tensions, which have been rising, especially under the Biden administration. So probably you could see the Ukraine situation be settled at the current borders, with Russia gaining Luhansk and Donbass, the Russian-speaking territories, and annexing those. Ukraine probably will get bolstered as a new buffer zone that's very strongly in the Western camp, and that will be the status quo for some time. And they'll also ease the sanctions on Russia. I hear people saying that Russia may take this time to rebuild. Hopefully that is not the case, that they will try to aggress. Hopefully it's not the case that they will try to aggress against Europe, and specifically against the current NATO countries. That would be a geopolitical disaster if that happens in the next 5 or 10 years. I told myself I wouldn't get too deep, but that's something that could happen down the line, and there's not much we can do about that now. Trump's tone is similar in China. Actually, from the tea leaves I'm reading, not to make a China joke, I think Trump is willing to give up Taiwan in the near future. So, again, we're realistic here. Not making a moral judgment. I personally would like to defend Taiwan more. But Trump and Biden have been trying to move the critical semiconductor chip construction that flashing the video stuff that we all need for the computers that we care so much about. Trump is going to continue to try to move that into the United States, and that takes away from the geopolitical significance of Taiwan. And again, the other evidence being that Trump wants to lower the military temperature with China. And those are two, Russia and China obviously are some of our biggest adversaries. I would say against the West, but really against America, because I think Trump is very willing to leave Europe behind. And the reasons for that is Europe and America relations are not great from an ideological perspective, and Trump realistically might not want to support Europe militarily like we have. Can get very deep in there again. I am with Trump on this one. I think Europe needs to reassess what they want in the world, and I think America does not have to necessarily subsidize that. Ideally, though, we come to some understanding with Europe or the more favorable countries of Europe that are more in line with the current Trump agenda, I guess, or the MAGA agenda. But Trump is willing to put American interests first, and so all these bilateral relations with Europe, mind you, UK has left the EU, and so we'll have to negotiate probably separately with Germany, UK, and France. And honestly, who cares? Because none of those are a major force for military as far as American interests go. So now I'm kind of talking out of my ass, but you'll see this stuff coming up, I think, a lot in the next couple of years.